Hello, I'm Esther Githu-Ewart. Welcome to Africa 54. Here's what's coming up. Israel and Hamas have agreed to extend their ceasefire until Wednesday, raising the prospect of further exchanges of militant-held hostages for Palestinians imprisoned by Israel. Raising awareness on gender-based violence with 16 days of activism re-energizes a campaign initiated over 30 years ago. And health experts say rheumatology diseases previously considered rare in Africa are rising due to changing lifestyles on the continent. All this and much more coming up on today's Africa 54. Israel and Hamas have agreed to extend their ceasefire until at least Wednesday, raising the prospect of further exchanges of militant-held hostages for Palestinians imprisoned by Israel and a longer halt to their destructive war. The deal for 2 additional days of ceasefire is raising hopes for further extensions, which would also allow more desperately needed aid into Gaza. 11 Israeli women and children freed by Hamas entered Israel on Monday night after more than 7 weeks in captivity in Gaza in the 4th swap under the original 4-day truce. 33 Palestinian prisoners released by Israel arrived early Tuesday in East Jerusalem and the West Bank town of Ramallah. The prisoners were greeted by loud cheers as their bus made its way through the streets of Ramallah. Israel has remained steadfast in the stated goal of crushing Hamas military capabilities and ending the group's 16-year rule over Gaza. The ceasefire extension is giving Israelis hope that more people still in captivity, including children, could be freed. Linda Gradstein reports from Jerusalem.
It seemed an entire nation held its breath while waiting for Hamas to free the Israeli children it held hostage. Many Israelis cried as they watched each hostage release over the past few days. On Monday, mediator Qatar announced that Israel and Hamas agreed to extend a ceasefire for 2 more days, raising hopes among Israelis that more people, including children that Hamas had taken hostage on October 7th, would be released. Ohad Mundar, a thin boy who likes to play with Rubik's Cubes, turned 9 while being held captive by Hamas with his mother, Karen. He was reunited with his father in the hospital. His cousin, Meirav Raviv, says that Ohad has lost weight but seems healthy and happy to belatedly celebrate his 9th birthday with his friends at the hospital.
But they were talking and laughing and like normal kids. It wasn't that easy for him, but Karen said that he behaved very nice. There were times that he was crying. And also when he came back, I mean, the tears when he saw a sensitive movie or something that someone told him something. So it was emotional, but I hope he will get back to normal as soon as possible.
Israel says Hamas captured 40 children out of a total of 240 hostages. An official from Qatar said that 10 of the children are under the control of other militant groups and that it is not clear if Hamas can find them. The freed children will have to work through the trauma of their ordeal, psychiatrists say. Some, like 4-year-old Abigail Idan, saw their parents killed. Her father was holding her when a Hamas militant shot him.
The condition is not normal. There are different reactions. One will cry, another will speak about different things. One will wet his bed, another will be afraid to go out from the safe room because that's the only safe place, or another won't agree to go into the safe room because the memories of the safe room are the memories of death and danger.
As part of the ceasefire deal, Israel released 3 Palestinian prisoners, all women or minors, for every hostage who was freed. Among the released prisoners was Fatima Shaheen, convicted of trying to stab an Israeli settler.
والحمد لله اللي طلعت احنا طبعا الحين مبسوطين.
We are happy that she was released, but only slightly so, because we cannot ignore the dire conditions in Gaza, where thousands have been killed. It is not suitable for us to be happy at this time.
والأوضاع الصعبة فمش مناسبة إن نكون مبسوطين.
The Israeli families say that the reunions with their children released from Hamas captivity are bittersweet because there are still so many remaining hostages. They say they will not rest until every family is reunited. Linda Gradstein, VOA News, Jerusalem.
Now for more on Israel-Hamas war, I'm joined live from Tel Aviv by reporter Ricky Rosen. Ricky, bring us up to speed on the latest.
So I just came back from the south, from the border with Gaza, and it was eerily quiet. Every other time I've been there, there have been booms all the time, both Israeli artillery and rockets coming from Gaza. And now it was very quiet. People actually are coming back to some of the kibbutz villages to pick up some of their things that they fled away on October 7th because it's quiet. They say that the head of the Mossad is in Qatar to try to negotiate a further extension of this truce, and we're expecting another 10 hostages, mostly children, tonight, and another 10 tomorrow if all goes well.
Well, Ricky, we're curious to know how the Israelis are reacting to Twitter CEO Elon Musk's visit to the country.
Yes, he was where I just came from yesterday, accompanying Prime Minister Netanyahu. And Netanyahu is very pleased that he's here showing support for Israel. And he agreed not to provide his Starlink internet service to Gazan humanitarian organizations without Israeli approval. Israelis, in general, see it as a PR stunt because Musk has been heavily criticized for reposting anti-Semitic posts on Twitter, on X, and allowing for all kinds of neo-Nazi and white nationalist content. And so people think that he's trying to improve his image by looking like he's supportive of Israel.
Ricky, thank you very much for your reporting. Ricky Rosen reporting live from Tel Aviv, Israel. The White House is welcoming the announcement of a 2-day extension of the ceasefire between Hamas and Israel and the agreed upon release of 10 hostages per day of the pause. Here's VOA's Anita Powell.
The White House is applauding the release of Hamas-held hostages over the weekend and welcoming the 2-day extension of a truce, with the hope that 20 more captives will be reunited with loved ones in coming days.
We'd certainly like to see even that extension extended further until all the hostages are released. That's really the goal here, get all the hostages home with their families where they belong, and however long that could take.
People on both sides of the tense border celebrated the weekend exchange of prisoners held by Israel for hostages taken by militant group Hamas in its surprise October 7th attack on Israel. Palestinian Authority Foreign Minister Riyad al-Maliki, speaking in Spain, welcomed the pause.
Any Israeli attack, instead of killing one child, will kill two. So for us, it is important to try and extend this truce as long as possible.
Israel's leader, in welcoming the hostage release Monday, reiterated his main goal.
We are also continuing with the main goal we set to bring about the release of our hostages, to complete the elimination of Hamas, and of course also to ensure that this threat will not repeat itself in Gaza.
Analysts say this widely welcomed pause is unlikely to bring an end to this complex and, for both sides, existential conflict.
There are two separate problems. The long-term end to the fighting is going to require the dismantlement of Hamas, probably not in any realistic way the complete elimination of all of its fighters or capabilities or ideas, but the top leadership has to go. Hamas's ability to rule Gaza has to go, and I don't see that as having been changed in any way, shape, or form by the current pause in the fighting.
President Joe Biden on Sunday welcomed the release of Abigail Edan, the lone American hostage in the weekend's exchange.
A little girl named Abigail, who turned 4 years old. She spent her birthday, and at least 50 days before that, held hostage by Hamas. Today, she's free, and Jill and I, together with so many Americans, are praying for the fact that she is going to be all right.
In a statement Monday, Biden said he had spoken to Abigail's family after her release and vowed, "We will not stop until all of the hostages held by Hamas terrorists are released." As both sides take a breath after 7 weeks of war, the world is watching. Anita Powell, VOA News, the White House.
For analysis on the Israel-Hamas war, I'm joined live from here in Washington by Khalil Jashan, Executive Director of the Arab Center here in Washington, D.C., and a former think tank Executive Director, U.S. Foreign Policy in Israel and Palestine. Mr. Jashan, welcome to Africa 54. Let me hear from you. What has this war done to Israel and Palestine, and can diplomacy work to end it?
Frankly, what started as a limited conflict involving Hamas penetrating, if you will, Israeli defenses on October 7 ended up, I think, becoming a major development in the modern history of the Palestinian-Israeli conflict. I think the crisis has grown way beyond even major wars involving different countries, 2, 3, 4 countries with more than probably combined 2 million soldiers, even though the whole ordeal started with about 1,000 fighters participating in the invasion of Israeli border next to Gaza on October 7. I think all countries involved, including the Palestinians, remain in a state of shock because of the magnitude of this crisis, which has not only become a regional conflict of some sort, but also an international conflict of some sort, requiring, if you will, intervention by different countries to try to prevent it from expanding and prevent it from indeed becoming a military, if you will, regional confrontation.
So, Mr. Khalil, as we mentioned, Israel has stated its goal is to crush Hamas and, end its military capabilities. But what would it take to achieve that goal?
Nothing, frankly. I think it's an empty, if you will, wish on the part of the Israelis that has been attempted before since the birth of Hamas in 1987. I don't think it is doable. Most people, both in Israel and in the United States, I'm talking about experts, know that it is impossible. We just heard that in the intro to your program. Weakening Hamas's military capabilities is one thing. Eliminating, as the Prime Minister of Israel, Netanyahu, was talking about, Hamas as an idea or an ideology is wishful thinking. I don't think Israel has the capacity, neither does the U.S., frankly, has the capacity to do that. Ideas are impossible to defeat at this day and age.
I wish I had more time to counter that because, well, even in Palestine itself, it's viewed as a terrorist group. But Mr. Khalil, we're going to have to leave it there for now. Khalil Jashan is the Executive Director of the Arab Center here in Washington. Dubbed 16 Days of Activism Against Gender-Based Violence, the campaign was initiated over 30 years ago and aims to raise awareness about and prevent gender-based violence. VOA's Paul Ndiho explains.
Initially started by activists at the Women's Global Leadership Institute in 1991, the Activism campaign seeks to address the widespread issue of violence against women and girls, which remains a significant human rights violation worldwide. The United Nations Deputy Secretary General Amina Mohammed highlights the urgent need to combat this violence.
Halfway through the 2030 Agenda, we are far from achieving the target of eliminating violence against women and girls. It transcends borders and cultures.
This campaign serves as a platform for individuals and organizations globally to advocate for the prevention of violence against women and girls. With the COVID-19 pandemic, conflicts, climate change, the risks and the threats of gender-based violence have increased, making women and girls more vulnerable.
To prevent violence for good, UNFPA works with communities, especially with men and boys, to change harmful gender norms and promote positive masculinities.
Robust responses, including investment in prevention, are crucial to address this issue. On drugs and crime, and United Nations Women reveals a shocking statistic.
The realities of the ubiquitous violence women and girls endure in conflict extends to the home also. Today's report by UNODC and UN Women shows that more than 5 women or girls are killed every hour by someone in their family.
Activists are urging governments worldwide to make commitments and implement policies and actions to end violence against women and girls. This responsibility, they say, falls on individuals from all walks of life who must join forces to address the problem. Paul Ndihau, VOA News, Washington.
The International Criminal Court Prosecutor's Office is ending its lengthy investigation into deadly violence that followed Kenya's 2007 presidential election. The probe into the political violence opened in 2010 and led to charges against 6 suspects. Among the suspects charged but never convicted were then President Uhuru Kenyatta and then Deputy President William Ruto, who is now Kenya's president. All charges against the suspects were either withdrawn or terminated or tossed out by pre-trial judges. Post-election violence in 2007 and 2008 left more than 1,000 people dead and forced 600,000 from their homes. Let us know what you think about Africa 54 and the stories we have for you on our VOA Africa programs on our website at voaafrica.com. Still to come in our health report, a look at rheumatology diseases. Stay with us.
This week on Straight Talk Africa, we'll look at Africa's regional economic outlook. In the last 10 years, the debt ratio has almost doubled in sub-Saharan Africa, while a sluggish global economy, worldwide inflation are pushing up borrowing costs as well as the cost of living. Join me, Heidi Adams, and my guests as we discuss how countries can shield themselves against economic distress on the next Straight Talk Africa.
In other news, tragedy struck in South Africa Monday. An elevator carrying workers to the surface at a giant platinum mine plunged out of control, killing 11 and injuring 75, according to the mine operators. Impala Platinum says the accident happened at its Rustenburg mine northwest of Johannesburg. Niger's military junta says it is revoking an anti-immigration law that helped reduce the flow of West Africans to Europe, but which was hated by desert dwellers whose economies had long relied on the traffic. The law, which made it illegal to transport migrants through Niger, was passed in May 2015 as the number of people traveling across the Mediterranean Sea from Africa reached record highs, creating a political and humanitarian crisis in Europe. And a former Somali refugee intent on bringing books and education to his compatriots languishing in sprawling refugee camps in Kenya is the winner of the United Nations Refugee Agency prestigious Nansen Award. Abdullahi Mire, 36, is being hailed for championing the right of education by putting 100,000 books in the hands of children in Kenya's crowded Dadaab refugee camps. Former U.S. First Lady Rosalynn Carter is being honored Tuesday at a tribute service in Atlanta. Her husband, 99-year-old former President Jimmy Carter, who entered hospice care in February, plans to attend Tuesday's service for his wife, who died November 19th at the age of 96. Hundreds paid their respects on Monday to Rosalynn Carter as she lay in repose at the Jimmy Carter Presidential Library and Museum. Services are set for Tuesday in Atlanta and Wednesday in the Carter's hometown of Plains, Georgia. Both are for invited guests, including President Joe Biden, First Lady Jill Biden, former President Bill Clinton, and all living former First Ladies. A 14-year-old Ethiopian-born American in the U.S. state of Virginia has won the Young Scientist Challenge, an annual science competition for U.S. students in grades 5 through 8. VOA's Eden Guerrero recently spoke with the winner in Fairfax County, Virginia.
Heman Bekele says that he has always been passionate about problem solving. That curiosity has earned the Ethiopian-born American teen the grand prize and $25,000 in cash in this year's 3M Young Scientist Challenge, a competition for U.S. students enrolled in 5th through 8th grade. Heman entered a bar soap that could fight a type of cancer known as melanoma.
Yeah, I've always been really passionate about just finding solutions that aren't just really great from a science perspective, but are also accessible to as many people as possible. And for a disease like skin cancer, where cures already exist in the field, the only issue is that those cures aren't accessible to everyone.
Heman's soap is still being tested for its effectiveness, but it works by activating special cells called dendritic cells that help the body fight skin cancer.
Well, I tried to come up with a solution that was not only great from a science perspective that could work, but then at the same time was also affordable and accessible.
Heman's parents say that they didn't realize how important his project was until their son was shortlisted among the top 10 competitors. His father, Wendwasen Bekele, says they couldn't contain their excitement.
When he become a top 10, I was really, we were so satisfied. And then when he become the tops, we were so overwhelmed with his accomplishments. So we're still so happy for him.
His mother, Mulumabit Getachew, says he has always been curious as a child.
Heman likes to create. Since he was a child, he used to like to research things. He used to prefer playing with things he created instead of toys. He was social. He liked to play. He liked to talk and play with other people. He likes to read, but he also listens. He is a good listener.
Heman says his skin cancer treating soap must still get an approval from the U.S. Food and Drug Administration. When that happens, he hopes it can be made accessible to people in underserved and low-income communities.
Of course, there's a lot of work still left to get to that goal, but I hope that, like I was saying, by 2028 it'll turn into a nonprofit, and we'll have to see from there where it ends up.
The World Health Organization's cancer agency estimates that nearly 325,000 new cases of melanoma were diagnosed worldwide in 2020. Heman says all he wants to do is make people's lives a bit easier. For Eden Guerrero in Fairfax County, Virginia, Salim Solomon, VOA News.
It's time for Health segment, and joining us now is Africa 54 health correspondent Lino Mudu with a look at rheumatology diseases. Hello, Lino.
Hello, Esther. Rheumatology diseases were previously considered to be rare in Africa, but that is changing as the number of cases is rising. Health experts attribute the trend to the changing lifestyles on the continent. Juma Majanga reports from Nairobi.
In Mwihoko area, a suburb on the outskirts of Nairobi, Nancy Irungu is back to doing her housework. Irungu says she could not perform such tasks just a few months ago after falling ill with rheumatoid arthritis and gout that made it hard for her to move. Her husband and mother were also affected by the disease. After months of treatment, Irungu, a mother of 5 who is also a priest, is happy she can now go back to her duties.
I could attend the church, I could do the readings, I could even preach, but I could not do like washing, going to the garden, nothing like that.
The doctor who treated Irungu and her kin is Professor Omondi Oyo, a rheumatologist at the Kenyatta National Hospital and lecturer at the University of Nairobi. Oyo attributes rising cases of rheumatic diseases in Africa to lifestyle changes that are happening across the continent and the world.
Generally, the whole world, people are less active. Less and less people are doing exercise. There's more obesity. There's change in diet. People are eating more animal proteins, juices preserved with fructose, and therefore there's an upsurge of uric acid worldwide.
Rheumatic diseases have been prevalent in older people and generally rare in Africa. Experts say that trend is changing as the cases are not only increasing but also affecting young people, posing a health challenge.
Gout is associated with hypertension and also with high cholesterol and diabetes. So they tend to come together, especially in obese people. And the problem with this combination is that they can damage your kidney, can damage the blood vessels in the heart and predispose you to heart attack, and can predispose you to stroke.
Treating rheumatic diseases can be expensive, but Oyo says in most cases, avoiding it is as easy as making 2 simple lifestyle changes.
People should be more physically active, and that will help in reducing the prevalence of hypertension, the prevalence of gout, and the prevalence of diabetes. Those are, are things which work together and also help to reduce cholesterol in the blood. And number 2 is diet. People should pay more attention to diet.
Kenyans are known for their love for roasted meat, popular as nyama choma in Swahili. And as Christmas festivities approach, health experts say a little moderation can go a long way towards avoiding long-term healthcare challenges later. Juma Majanga, VOA News, Nairobi.
And that's our health report for today. To stay in touch, find me on X at Linor Mudu. Back to you, Esther.
Thanks, Lino. Be sure to watch Lino Mudu's health reports every Tuesday right here on Africa 54. And that's our show for today. Be sure to watch Africa 54 on our website at voaafrica.com. From all of us here in Washington, thanks for watching.